god!
Yes. That's incredible.
Hey Rogue Trotters, we are in the lava beds, just strolling along the trail here through the great chunks of lava, threading our way through these corridors near Captain Jack's stronghold. Welcome to this presentation. So we've got 4 trips coming up. We are developing these trips in collaboration with OLLI, or Osher Lifelong Learning Institute. These trips pick up from the Campbell Center in SOU. 2 of them are day trips and 2 of them are 2-day trips. First one is going to be May 3rd. It's a Klamath Basin and High Cascades birdwatching tour. Super exciting birdwatching and wildlife viewing on that one. The next one is a 2-day birdwatching trip, which is basically that trip plus the Tule Lake National Wildlife Sanctuary and Lower Klamath Lake Wildlife Sanctuary with all of its marshland and shorebirds and just amazing wildlife there. The third trip is going to be April 23rd. That is where we go to the Shepherd's Dream wool carding factory that is out in Montague, where we'll learn about how they process these wonderful textiles that you can see at Shepherd's Dream in Ashland. And we talk about the great tradition of woolen textiles in the 19th century in Ashland. So we're gonna sort of try to connect the two, modern day and 19th century. On the same day, we're gonna go out to the former Copco Lake after the drawdown and look at the wonderful Klamath River as it courses through that new landscape, and maybe see some salmon and other wildlife on that trip as well. Some of the first salmon to come up the Klamath River in over 100 years. The 4th trip is June 24th and 25th. That is gonna be out to the Lava Beds National Monument. We're gonna be talking about the Modoc War. We're gonna be going to the Modoc War Museum in Fort Klamath, visiting also Camp Tule Lake, the Japanese internment camp. A really, really unique and kind of dark period of our history. We're gonna go to Petroglyph Point, which is a place where some of the oldest artwork in America is to be found. So stay tuned for the presentation. It's coming at you. All right, trip number 1, heading out to Upper Klamath Lake over the Cascades. This is the first leg of the trip here. This first stop is a place called Salt Ridge. It's just outside of town. Great place to get out and look for wildlife. Listen to the sounds of the meadowlarks. Next, we're going to be kind of circumnavigating Howard Prairie Lake. It's nearby here that one of the arch spirits of the forest made an appearance. The great gray owl. Such a treat. Now I realize that parts of this presentation might be a little over-promising. The chances of seeing this guy can be quite slim, but we know where to look, so with lots of luck, we might receive a similar visitation. Howard Prairie is also brimming with other species such as the American pelican, the heaviest flying bird, western bluebirds, gray jays, aka whiskey jacks, aka camp robbers. Got some common mergansers on the wing, just to name a few of our faves. Then it's up to the Patterson Trail where the PCT goes across the road. And we'll make a stop at Lake of the Woods, of course, and check out the mountain looming above the lake. We've seen pileated woodpeckers here. This is very nice. Then from Lake of the Woods, it's over to Rocky Point. A beautiful place to just check out shorebirds and get our first taste of the Upper Klamath Lake. I mean, not literally tasting it. I wouldn't recommend that. Kind of the crescendo of this trip, I would say, would be Shoalwater Bay and Eagle Ridge. This is a favorite kind of family birdwatching spot for us. And one time, my son even found what I suspect to be a real Native American arrowhead. Coming back, we'll stop at the beautiful Little Hyatt Lake Reservoir. This is a great place to look at wildlife or be the wildlife. So I'm going to jump right into our next trip, which is a 2-day trip. This trip is a deep dive into Southern Oregon's most prized wildlife sanctuaries, Lower Klamath Lake and Tule Lake. So basically what you get is that entire 1-day trip just described, and then we head to Running Y Ranch for an overnight, and we spend the entire next day exploring Lower Klamath Lake and Tule Lake, parts of the lava beds, and everything in between. I should take this time to introduce our ornithologist. This is Nate Trimble at the Tule Lake National Wildlife Refuge headquarters. Nate is a very great wildlife illustrator and has created some of the drawings that you see on the signage along Ashland Creek when you walk through Lithia Park. So keep an eye out for those when you're strolling in Lithia Park. And this is Brandon Breen. He is going to be on board for both our 1-day and 2-day bird watching tours. So a real treat. He is a bird and wildlife biologist. He's been involved in a lot of research projects. He has a degree from the University of Minnesota and a lot of other credentials, including leading trips for the Audubon Society and the Sierra Club locally here. This next video is kind of funny, so buckle up. It's a rather dramatic introduction to Brandon. My Photos app just decided to make this video. The music is actually called A Hero Emerges. Yeah, thanks for enduring that. I figured I'd have to explain what's going on here. There seems to be a bird in the hand. So this is Brandon actually holding a nightjar that we found while hiking near Copco Lake. We sort of surmised that it was in a state of torpor, sort of a quasi-hibernation, and it had been very cold, so we were wondering if it was injured. So we picked it up. As soon as it was warm enough in Brandon's hands, it flew off. And this is another instance of over-promising. I certainly can't promise that you will get to hold a nightjar on our tour, but it is a remarkable circumstance, so I thought I would include it here. Had to include the western grebes doing their mating run just to indicate how romantic these trips are. Not super good at IDing eggs, so your guess is as good as mine. You can leave me a comment in the comment section if you know what these are. Some nesting golden eagles. There's 3 chicks here and the mother standing guard nearby. Then on to the aforementioned Petroglyph Point. This is a great place for raptors, particularly prairie falcons. If the dating of these petroglyphs is correct, that would put them at over 6,000 years old, making them the oldest art in America. Then it's on through the northern boundary of the lava beds and on up to the Tule Lake National Wildlife Refuge. Here we are cruising along Sheepy Ridge, another great place for falcons. We head up and around and over to Lower Klamath National Wildlife Sanctuary. This is more commonly known as the Great Pacific Flyway, so an enormous amount of migratory birds stop here on their migrations. Then it's the long and scenic drive home over the Cascades. We all seem to pick up a little wildlife on the way home.
Definitely got for it.
Yeah. You're not eating that, are you?
No.
Just strolling along the trail here through the unworldly landscape. Now bear in mind, you don't need to be a member of OLLI in order to take these trips. We do all these trips on a private basis, so definitely click that link in the description and it'll take you to our website. We'd love to hear from you and help you plan some great adventures in our area. Next trip is the Wool Mill and Copco Day trip. This is April 23rd, so we're rewinding a little bit here. I had to put the two bird watching tours back to back. We're going to be going to the Shepherd's Dream wool carding mill out in Montague and the former Copco Lake. Let's start way back in the 1880s, and I want to introduce this guy. His name is John McCall. That's it. Many of you know the beautiful McCall House in Ashland, one of the prettiest Victorians around. Well, that was all built on wool. So wool textiles are a long, old tradition in Ashland. In fact, some of the mountain bike trails up in the watershed that Ashland is so famous for used to be sheep trails on which sheep mountain biked. Let's bring it around to the 21st century here, and we will visit the wool gatherers carding mill in Montague and learn all about it. Then we're going to head up to the former site of Copco Lake, which is going to be vastly different from what it looks like on this map. It is the ancient bed of the Klamath River as it once coursed through this canyon 100 years ago. Amazingly, there are 100-year-old trees still sticking up out of the riverbed. It's greening up all around here. Even seeing salmon coming up the river for the first time in 100 years.
Oh, there he goes.
Trip number 4 is near and dear to my heart. We're going to learn who this fella is. This is a man named Kintupash, or more infamously known as Captain Jack. We're going to go from Ashland all the way up to Fort Klamath, where we will visit the Modoc War Museum, which is actually located inside the guardhouse of the 19th century Fort Klamath. We're also going to learn who these guys are. So from left to right, we've got Shack Nasty Jim, Hooker Jim, and Steamboat Frank, and the rancher named John Fairchild, looking like a real frontier Chad. These guys would cause the United States military no end of trouble in the late 19th century. And we'll learn all about the so-called Modoc War, the most expensive of all the so-called Indian wars. This is an epic story, often convoluted, of high drama, adventure, revenge, nuance, with lots of character development, lots of plot twists. A very significant chapter in our local history here. So we're going to be going down into the lava beds for this. We're going to hike over to a place called Captain Jack's Stronghold. You can really see some of the relics of the Modoc War. There are gun positions. There were so many ways to be ambushed in this place if you were trying to invade and prize out the Modocs. There's caves, there's depots, there's ice caves where they resupplied water. They were able to thread their way underground and just pop up out of nowhere and catch the cavalry men unawares. It was a horrible war of attrition. Here's a reading list. Certainly not required reading, but if you're looking to study up before the tour, these are the best. From Captain Jack's Stronghold, we'll head deeper into the lava beds. We'll be exploring some lava tubes. These have various levels of accessibility. There are the ice caves, Skull Cave, and Big Painted Cave with its beautiful ancient Native American artwork. Just wanted to show this satellite image just showing how, just like the surface of Venus this place is, it is just such a sublime landscape. Speaking of sublime, this guy is friend and mentor Jeff Anderson. Me and this guy used to put together field trips for grad students from CCA in San Francisco, and one of my first trips coming up to the lava beds was with this group. But I just wanted to point out the reading material that he has tucked under his arm here. I'd just like to add this to the reading list. If you're so inclined, these are a couple of great treatises on that elevated aesthetic that soars above the sort of contrived beauty of human making. It's just a great read, especially to sort of mentally prepare for seeing such fantastic landscapes such as these. We're standing here on a place called Glass Mountain, which is a huge blob of pure obsidian that just came pouring out of the earth tens of thousands of years ago. And it's actually 7 miles wide and 15 miles long. That's actually about twice the size of San Francisco. So last but certainly not least, we're going to head up to Camp Tule Lake. This was a Japanese internment camp that was used to inter Japanese people in World War II. Shortly after we entered the war, after Pearl Harbor. Sort of a dark and bit surreal chapter in American history. And on that note, thanks for tuning in to this presentation. If you have any questions, of course, click that link in the description and reach out. Also in the description is the link to book these trips through the OLLI website. There'll be instructions right on there. Looking forward to hearing from you, and don't forget to click that subscribe button while you're here.